Hi, aloha, and welcome to the Empowered Empath. My name is Jennifer O'Neill.
And I'm Michelle Schneider. As always, we thank you so much for watching. If you like today's video, please give us a like. And if there's any questions that come up during our discussion today, please make sure you leave those in the comments and subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes.
Correct. So, what's going on in the world right now? Well, actually, what's going on in your world? Because there's a lot going on in mine, and I do want to talk about more of that in a minute, which is what we're going to get into on today's show. Everything going good in your neck of the woods?
Yeah,
Staying busy?
still the hamster wheel of trying to figure out how to balance everything. Maybe one of these days I'll figure that out.
Well, you've been trying to figure that out for a little
I
while
know,
now.
and it's not been very successful, have I?
No. I feel like at some point in time, you're going to be wearing a hat with a tractor on it because all I hear is tractors and hats. So it's like maybe that should be your balance reminder
I
is you wear
know.
a hat with a tractor on it. Maybe
A
that
lot
should
of
be
people are not gonna know what we're talking about.
no,
We're talking
but
about
maybe
clients that I
maybe we
have.
should all have a tractor hat and then we can be like, oh yes, this is a
It'll be
reminder.
an inside joke.
Yeah, an inside empowered empath joke, but that would be kind of funny. We do need to come up with a hat. Something about balance. I've been wanting you to do coffee mug.
I know. There's
I
so
know.
many things that I want to do, and I
I
keep
want a
telling
coffee mug and I think we need a hat. So I hopefully we can move that direction or maybe somebody has an idea and they can we have good ones though. I really want the I've reached wizard status coffee mug. That could be a hat. I mean,
yes,
really.
it could. I'm gonna put this on my list for
Is this on
real.
your to-do list? Okay.
Yes,
Well, if it's
very
like
long.
on my to-do list, we're not going to have these for like a year. But that being said, um, so I have been writing again a lot. Everyone's going to get sick of hearing me writing, but I really am getting to the end of this. So I'm very excited to be done. Not just because I'm like, oh, thank God I'm done, but there's such good info on being an empath and energetic management and how to navigate relationships and understanding your ability better and ways to notice energy and how to work with that energy. There's a lot, which is why it was broke up into two books. One of the things that we kind of briefly talked about on the last podcast, but I think is important to revisit, is during this transitional period, as everybody's like talking about the moving into um, 5D energy and this and all the dimensions and the transitional shifting and the high frequency alignment and all that kind of stuff. I'm starting to notice some patterns with a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are having an empath awakening. Again, if you're wanting to know if you're one of those people, I wished I had my book out right now, but it will be out soon. And then you can go through and see what an empath awakening means. But that being said, I am noticing that during this transitional time period, a lot of people are shifting. And when they're shifting, they're becoming a new version of themselves vibrationally. It's very interesting how many people are becoming a new identity. I'm just going to repeat this vibrationally, and they're not noticing. I am seeing a lot of clients that are not noticing that this vibrational shift within themselves, their identity is shifting. Their soul identity is becoming more prominent than their physical identity. And this is allowing a lot of knowledge to come in from past lives, other experiences, gifts that they have, purposes that they've had in other lifetimes in this lifetime. These things are starting to be louder, how I would explain it to somebody, because I think it's hard for people to wrap their brain around sometimes is how can your identity shift vibrationally? You want to imagine it like music playing. I think it's an easy way to explain it. And you've had a certain music playing for a really long time, basically your whole life. That would be kind of your 3D body, your 3D identity. And it is been playing in the background. It's playing now. And then all of a sudden we have this new frequency, which is different music. You've changed. You probably like different music when you were younger than you do now. And so this music begins to change. It has a different tone to it, a different rhythm to it, and it starts to get louder and louder and louder. And where you could never hear this second station playing, or the second music, whatever, before, all you knew is one tone, one song, one station. And now all of a sudden you kind of have two going on, but one of them is becoming louder than the other one. That's sort of what it's like on a vibrational frequency level when you're feeling and reading people's energy. And that's what I do. And I'm noticing that a lot of people's soul identity is becoming more prominent than their physical identity. And what that means, again, for those wondering, is your soul identity is made up of many, many lifetimes, a lot of spiritual knowledge. It is way more in tune with your desires and who you are on a soul level, on a raw level, than you have ever been on the physical plane in this physical earth. Because once we have been born, we start being trained to monitor our environment visually and audibly. Well, in the spiritual realm, that is exactly the opposite. We work on an energetic plane. And so we retrain ourselves towards the physical, which is then visual and audio, like I was talking about. So when we start to have desires from a young age, I would say, childhood years, teen years, whatever, we become accustomed to trying to fulfill our needs on a visual level. So instead of, feeling like, oh, I need more space, I'm feeling claustrophobic energetically. I'm feeling all the items of my space being too close in, which can happen, especially if you fill a room or a house with clutter or people, or you start getting too much stuff. You can start to feel an energetic claustrophobia in a sense, the energy of the walls sort of coming in. And so you go, oh, we need more space. We need a bigger house, a bigger workplace, a bigger whatever. And that is a visual thing. You start to relate all your wants towards that. If you want more freedom or time, most people relate that to money, which is really interesting because a lot of times when you relate wanting more freedom or time towards money, which means I have to make more money, two things happen. You either have to work more or you have to get a different job, which completely negates having more time or freedom.
Yeah.
You double up on the hours or you take on more work or a second job, but it negates what your desire is in the first place. And then you keep doing it. And then to fulfill yourself temporarily, people typically buy physical things because it does fulfill you for a second. And you go, oh, I can see visually what I'm accumulating by all the hard work that I'm putting in. So it's almost like a pat on the back because I can see this and I can see visually what I'm doing energetically on a daily basis. You start to kind of relate the two together. So it makes you feel like you're not wasting your time energetically because you're accumulating things, when what your deep desire is to just have more time, more freedom, maybe more travel, maybe more experiences and things on that nature. But if you decide to double down on work or whatever, it negates the ability to do that. So that's why when you start to hear your, spiritual station playing louder and stronger, and it starts to become more dominant in its voice, it's really a cool thing because that has access to things that fill you vibrationally, things that raise your vibration, which is typically has nothing to do with anything you can visually see. Has to do with things like freedom, love, joy, happiness, laughter, experiences, things of that nature. So most of everybody has created their life based upon physicality and things that they can see. And they have created their identity based on this too. Even if they're a wife, a mother, a husband, a father, whatever job that they have, it becomes your identity. And you continue to make choices based upon this identity most of your life. Then when we have this transitional phase where you are no longer a physical identity, that is no longer what the perception of your inner being is. The perception is now, I'm much more than this. I've done this in this lifetime. I've done this in another lifetime. I've had all these purposes. I have all this knowledge. I understand things differently, yet your brain's not quite on the same page with it. There's more to life. Once these things start happening, there can be a discord within your current life because your frequency no longer matches the lifestyle and identity that you've created for yourself. What I find the most interesting about this is people think that it's internal, not external. And so they continue to work the same habits, patterns, and make the same choices that they've been making for most of their life. But now we have a discord. That's not going to work very good. You're going to have a new frequency that you're emitting. And that frequency, if it doesn't match what you've set up for your life currently, you're going to have discord within the body, discord within the emotional body, the spiritual body, which will then translate to physical issues and problems. It's now going to flare up things within the physical body if you don't pay attention and you're not aware of the internal shift that's taking place. So I'm finding that a lot of people are saying, why all of a sudden am I having this health issue or this health issue? And I'm like, you have to make changes. This is the time. You're in a transitional time frame. You need to make shifts and changes in regards to your life. You cannot continue to live the same way. I've had a lot of clients that have wondered, why though? Everything, nothing really shifted. I've been having the same routine, the same whatever. You shifted. And that's when I'm noticing they're very disconnected from their spiritual identity. They're very disconnected from this shift that's taken place. And like I've mentioned on other podcasts, you can feel somebody's identity shift. You can feel it. It's almost like they went into town or wherever and got a whole physical makeover. They changed their hair color, they cut their hair, they're dressing differently. If they're women, their makeup's different, they're walking different. That's how I view them. That's how I feel them. And any other empath out there should notice this. You might feel the shift in somebody very clear as day, yet they are still disguising it in the way that they have been, and they get very confused. And I'm like, you are no longer that person. This version of who you are is not the version of you 6 months ago or a year ago. And because you are not the same version of you, your body's saying, I don't like this. I don't like this, whatever this is going on.
Yeah.
I don't like what we're doing for work. I don't like how we're spending our time. I don't like this relationship. I don't like these feelings that I'm internalizing that I had when I was younger. I don't like maybe some of the traumas that I feel like I've been still holding on to. It's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But there's somewhere that you're holding on to your old identity and you're not allowing your new identity to give you info to make different choices. You shut it down. Therefore, physically, you're going to pay the price.
Yeah.
Because it's going to show up on a physical scale of things. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally makes sense. And I think I've felt a lot of, transition, I would say, too. I feel like I'm at this point, it's career-wise, where I'm like, I'm done with this. Like I do not want to keep doing the same hamster wheel. Like, how long have I talked about doing the same thing? But I
don't know, but now we have it recorded.
I
So
know.
now
So we have it tracked.
recorded evidence.
I feel like I'm moving towards something else. Like I can feel it. I think that there is something really different ahead of me. I have no idea what that is. I'm desperately want to know what that is, but I feel like I am definitely at the point where I need to start making changes because I don't want my physical health to be impacted. Of course, I'm like I already just went through some stuff. I'm like I'm good. I
But
want to
on
feel
the
good.
flip side of the scale, you have made changes.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily for those who are listening. There's been a lot of major things that you didn't want to face that you faced
Yeah.
currently within jobs,
Yes.
clients that you've had,
Yes.
relationship. So I view it differently. You have been in the process of making shifts, and your spiritual identity clearly shifted about 6 months ago,
Yeah.
easily. I can actually pinpoint very close to when it was when we had the retreat and you came out to Hawaii for the retreat. There was a very clear shift in your identity. And since then, you've let go of a lot of things in your life that were not suiting you. Had you let go all the things? No, you haven't let go all the things yet, but that's fine because you don't have to let go all the things at one time.
Yeah, and I think I
That's
still get frustrated. Of course, I hold myself to a very high standard where I'm like, there's so much more that I want to be doing that I just haven't got to yet. And I
mhm.
think like I penalize myself mentally by because I haven't reached those things.
But think about this. What if you were like so many other people and so many clients that I have that what if 6 months ago you had that identity shift? What if you wouldn't have made any of those work changes and you were still doing all those clients that you had let go?
And the volunteering thing.
Yeah, and the volunteering thing, that's one of the clients I was thinking of. And you still were in the same relationship,
Yeah, I'd be a mess. I'd be a mess.
right?
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean. It's like you clearly would be reacting from your shift towards like this isn't working, you have to view things this way. And it doesn't mean that you have to change your entire life scenario.
Yeah, I don't need to burn the house down and start
No.
fresh. I'm like
No. You absolutely do not. But you need to pay more attention to this new version of who you are and figure out, how do I navigate this new version in my current life? What are the new desires that I have? Because even prior to then, I think that you were scared to let clients go or business go, in
yeah.
a sense. You were still very much in the, I have to sacrifice everything to build this business. And what happens when you let it go?
Y What, like the fact that
Yeah,
they
what
still
happened when
come
you let them go? The clients.
what do you re
The one clients, like you said that you let go some of your clients that were draining on you the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as that's happened, what's happened to your business?
I mean, I'm still thriving, and then I still get more people that contact me wanting to work with me, so it's
Yeah.
like it's never and it's a never-ending thing. Okay. I
Yes.
get mad when I get new people that contact me. I'm like, "No."
You get mad. All the new people out there wanting to contact you will be like, oh, if I send her this email, she might get really mad.
No, it's just because
I know.
I
It's the
don't like
time
letting
frame.
people down, so,
But you're also currently restructuring towards the way that you want to live too.
yes.
You're not just not taking necessarily new clients and letting go of old clients that don't match you. You are being very active in creating what you want your new frequency to be, your new energy, your business, what you want that to look like. You're still creating in that aspect.
Yeah.
So it's not all about letting things go. It's also about creating the life that you want currently. How do I make these shifts? How do I become more satisfied on a soul level? How do I match my soul identity? And I find that when people have their soul identity becoming more dominant, it's interesting to me how much their gifts really come through and how much their spiritual purpose comes through and how much knowledge that they receive, yet they are concerned, worried, they don't trust that they have this knowledge. They don't trust that maybe they have this gift of something that they're very interested in. And so they try to kind of, I want to say, like, shut their dreams down a little bit, because it's scary to think, could I really do this that I really want to do? But if you don't at least try, first of all, you're never going to know, number one.
Yeah.
But two, when you have your frequency raising because your soul identity is becoming more dominant, your spiritual identity is becoming more dominant than your 3D, your physical body identity, you are now working with a whole different set of rules and laws. So you need to go about that in a, what could possibly happen? That's another thing that I find very interesting with a lot of clients that I'm seeing right now that are in this transitional phase. I have asked them sometimes, what happens if you do XYZ? And they'll be like, well, I'm nervous. And I'll be like, well, nervous of what? Because you're really at your worst place right now. A lot of people in transition, they're actually at their scary point. They're at the part that where they're the most miserable, and transition is happening and they're miserable. It can't be worse than being miserable in transition, unless you don't try to steer the ship a little bit and, like, at least follow some, signs along the way towards desire and happiness and joy and, that direction. But I'm like, it can't be worse right now. Your greatest fear is kind of happening. And they're always like, oh my gosh, you're right. It is happening. And then I'm like, there you go. It's interesting how much that we're still fearing something worse, but yet you're probably in the worst.
Yeah.
It can only get better. You can only learn things from here. You can only have more opportunity from here. You can only have more success from here because you don't feel successful at the moment. So navigating that's kind of interesting. But
And speaking of navigating, I mean, don't you feel like you yourself, I mean, have shifted as well? I mean, we were having a conversation and, like, somebody had mentioned that they felt like your energy had shifted. So it's like you're experiencing this as well, right?
yes, I am experiencing this as well. And I've gone fully down that road. Like, I'm embracing it like no other, which is unlike me sometimes with my entrepreneurial mindset. I have to have things lined out and I like to see probable outcomes. I like to have some sort of frame of reference to what might happen if I do this. I have thrown all that completely out the window. I could feel an energetic shift happening with me. It was very terrifying and scary, because when you make a career shift, in the sense of, yes, I've always been in spiritual work, um, and that is what I do professionally. But when you pivot what you're doing with that spiritual work, even though I'm staying in the same realm, and I'm writing a lot more and doing some things of that nature, and I'm working a lot more with mentorship clients, and my main focus is writing workshops and mentorship clients. I've moved away from my old business plan, business style, or whatever, as far as that goes. And it's nerve wracking when you make a shift. It's like switching jobs in a sense. And since I've made that shift, man, everything is just intensifying like insanely. I clearly have made the right shift and went the right direction. But it wasn't without the lack of being afraid. It was just, I give up. I'm heading this direction. This is where all signs are pointing to. I'm curious. I need to see where this road leads. I'm feeling very urged this way. And one of the things that I always wanted was more time, because I operate several businesses. And if I'm not working on one that day, I'm moving to another and then another. And I have zero time. I literally would work 12 to 14 hours a day all the time. That was just what I did. And it left me with little time. And I'm like, when did this happen? How did I all of a sudden go from like working 4 days a week to 14-hour days? This is not what I wanted at all. But it was my brain telling me, yeah, but maybe you should do this and then add this and do this. And I just threw that all out the window. I just literally was like, you know what? This isn't working for me. I need to see what happens if I shift something else. And I moved a lot more towards writing, like I said, and the workshops, which I absolutely love. And I want to do more speaking, which I absolutely love. But weirdly enough, I I feel even if I'm writing like until 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, which I have done, I just really feel more free. I feel more grateful. I feel like I have more time. I'm like, I'm loving this. And part of the reason for that too is I'm so excited to put out this information for everybody, but I also am excited because I love doing it. I love what I'm doing. It's so easy for me. I lose time doing it, like speaking of time, but it's not like, oh, geez, it's only 2 o'clock. It's not like that. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, I had just such a fantastic day. I could feel the flow. I felt in the zone. I just feel aligned. I feel more aligned with my path at this point in time than I have in years. So on that note, I am curious to see. I am curious to see how it's going to unfold. But also for the first time in years, I'm loving the journey. I'm a destination gal. I've been a destination gal for a really long time, and I feel like a lot of people are a destination person. You know, I
Yeah.
they that's where me and you've talked about. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and when we get to that destination, if it doesn't look the way that we wanted it to, as an entrepreneur, we feel like we failed somehow. I have thrown all of that out the window, and I've decided to reverse all my thinking. All my thinking is celebrating every damn success, everything. And it's not about the destination. It's literally about the journey. Every day that I get so many chapters done, I'm like, wow, that was fun. This is amazing. I'm enjoying this so much. And then the next time I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And I keep thinking about what about when I actually get them completed? Because I'm getting very close now. Then what happens? And you realize when you pay more attention, you realize those destinations typically have that dip in energy where you're like, now what? And I think we've talked about that before. And because I know that there can be a dip in energy after it, I've already, well, I mean, my guides have just given me so much information at this point. I have file folders in my spiritual cabinet, like it's insane. And so, um, I just will move on to the next project and the next project. So I'm no longer looking at the destination. I'm purely just like the whole process of the book coming together is like, wow, this is fun. Do you feel like that you are enjoying your journey right now, or are you still destination?
I'm still destination. I think I'm probably I will get to the enjoying the journey soon when I can actually start focusing on some of the things that I want to. I'm still
Right.
trying to restructure some of my time. I'm very hopeful that within a month or two I can open things up a little bit more, so cuz I definitely notice a difference when I'm doing client work that I enjoy versus client work that I don't enjoy, because then it
Right.
feels like you're either in a prison or you're losing time because you're so excited about, what you're creating.
And I think that what you said though is poignant. I don't think many people enjoy the journey unless it's something that they're purely enjoying. Like
Yeah.
they're enjoying the whole process of what they're creating. They're enjoying the experience that they're having. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that that is probably definitely a key factor. And it's funny because me and my dad were having this conversation the other day, and I just found this kind of fascinating. Um, he's been a musician my whole entire life. And he was talking about when he was born, everything was musical notes to him. Everything. Like he said, he could listen to a song on the radio and know exactly every lyric to that song from hearing it one time. He just picked up on music and it suits him entirely. It's who he is. I mean, he is a musician. He's always been a musician. And luckily, um, I got to watch that happen and him follow his journey. When he didn't and he got off track though, he did have some health issues, and we've talked about that as well. I said, "What do you know what caused your health issues?" And he said, "100%. I veered away from music. I veered away from what I love and I did something else." And so, and then there was like a weird relationship in there and stuff. But that being said, it got me thinking, what do I remember from the youngest of age, that I can remember? And I've always, always been into spiritual stuff. Always. I remember being a baby. I remember being 2. I remember being 5, and just connecting with the other side and seeing things over there and remembering things over there and hearing information and picking it apart. And I remember doing healings when I was, gosh, I had to have been 7, maybe. I was working with Silva Mind Control when I was really young. I remember doing psychic games constantly when I was young. That's just where my interest was. It just was who I was from a very young age. That's what I was obsessed about. I was always obsessive about it, and that was what my dad had used as his words. He was always obsessive about music. That being said, do you remember what you were obsessive
Yeah.
about?
Yeah,
What was it?
this is so interesting to me. So, it's technology. I have this
There we go.
deep love for technology. Like, I would be a little girl and I had this play computer and I would pretend like I was coding stuff. Like, who does that? Like, as a child, that's so nerdy.
I did not do that. I would play with my guides and my angels, and I would connect with them, but as we know, if I have a technology problem, I literally call you going, "I hate this so much. I hate this. I don't know how you do this. Please help me." So that's also interesting of our 3 journeys.
Yeah, because I've even, and I don't know if I've asked this question to you before, because of this love and I feel this really deep connection to
Mhm.
technology. I was wondering if, like, maybe past lives I was some sort of really advanced technology, civilization, because a lot of times, and I don't talk about this a lot, but, like, let's say there's, issues that come up, like, I will
Mhm.
intuitively get the answer. Like, I don't have the answer, I've never solved that problem before. I will just get that answer in my head of,
Oh,
like, how to
yes.
fix
A lot
things.
the people who I know that their purpose is to be working in technology, most of the ones that you just know are really good and really get it. They've said that to me. Yes, intuitively they know. And yes, there is technology on the other side. There is technology that you've been working with within other lifetimes. It's not always just what's been on earth, and that's the other
Yeah.
thing that people get kind of hung up on. Well, how could that have been in the 1500s? First of all, there was times on earth where things were very technological, but there's other planets as well and other technology, and when you get into that type of stuff, energy and the way that it's moved is a form of technology, and the way that they harness it on other planets, and also the way they've harnessed it in the past, um, even here on earth. So technology is not just in the form of a computer chip.
Yeah, and I connect
There's
with it more on,
yes.
like, the multidimensional, like,
Right.
not of this
There's
planet.
symbols, there's numbers, there's geographic things going on, there's atoms, and I know that when we view technology, we think of actual computer chips, but the way that things operate to me is technological. Um, you can use energy for that, and you can use different rules of the universe, and there's like a cause and effect type of thing, and there's a formula, there's a way to figure things out, there's a way to have things flow more properly or get the result that you're looking for. So I guess that's what I see and view when I look at somebody like you as far as other lifetimes and whatnot. And there are other planets that are very advanced technologically past where we are.
Yeah.
Even in this, clearly in this current moment in time, there's lots that are way far advanced. We're kind of like a baby planet, as far as that goes. So it's not just all your lifetimes that we're here on Earth. And as we've talked about, you have a lot of extraterrestrial lifetimes, anyways, where
Yeah.
you've lived other lifetimes on other planets. So that's super common. But yes, isn't it interesting? So hopefully we are spurring some thoughts and everybody out there on what was your obsession? What was it
Yeah.
when you were younger?
They should leave those in the comments. We would
Yes.
love to know,
I
like,
would
what was your
love to hear what people's comments are on what it was that they were obsessed with when they were younger. But it's really a connective experience, because when you start just remembering that, you do start vibrating at a higher frequency, and you're like, oh yes, I remember that was a lot of my purpose, why I was here. You can feel and remember that alignment, because like I was mentioning before, I don't even know where I've mentioned now. I talk about these things on so many different things, but your past and your present and your future are all concurrent at this point in time. So you can pull that past memory into your current and really align with that, and then keep it moving forward to your future. So any way that you can get alignment. But it is interesting. That's also a way I think that people could recognize discord as well. Like, how far off am I from my spiritual identity? You know,
Yeah.
how far off the path have I gone? But I would like anybody who's listening to kind of revisit that part of themselves for a minute. Although, again, I think it's hard to recognize on yourself. But if you are an empath at all, you're going to be very sensitive to this transitional phase. So the chances of your spiritual identity becoming dominant and you shifting your soul frequency and becoming a different person on a vibrational scale is probably in the 98 percentile if you're listening to this. So it would be good for you to go back and figure out, where did that shift happen? Not because you want to do anything in the past, but it does help you to identify choices and things that you've made, and potential health things that have appeared between that time frame and currently. And that knowledge can help you to make different choices moving forward. But it also brings awareness to your brain. That's what's good. Your brain's really good for. It brings awareness to future discord, I guess I would say, when you stop aligning with your new identity. But the chances of you having a new identity, especially somewhere about from middle of last year to now, like I said, is really high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel different? I feel different. I know we just talked about this, but
I would say, yeah, I feel a lot different.
yeah. Well, you are different. And sometimes you say
Well,
it with,
that's
yeah,
what we know.
sure, I feel different, but you are very different than where you were. So that's kind of funny. And that's why I say that sometimes we don't recognize it on ourselves. We just go, why is this happening right now? Why does my life look like this? Why is this breaking down? Why is this shifting in my life? Why isn't my life just the way it was? It was just fine, you know? And so that's more what you notice. You don't
Yeah.
notice that, well, it's because you've kind of changed your environment. And that would really make you mad, because you'd be like, what? I think I want to go back and change what I changed.
I mean,
I'm not really sure.
my whole goal in this is, like, now that I know what I know and I've been through what I've gone through, I don't ever want to get to a place again where I'm that sick. Like, I want to be like, if there are things that are going slightly awry, like, I want to see those warning signs early on so that I can make
But I
adjustments.
just asked somebody this question who I was working with that was going through a heavy transitional period. You already went through a transitional period. If you would have still had to go through that transitional period to get where you are today, would you have done it?
I'm grateful
No,
for
I mean, just yes, right?
and I understand, yes, and I understand that it had a purpose, but
Mhm.
man, did that suck.
But if you were told you're going to have to go through this prior to doing it, there would be hesitation. I guarantee it.
Well, yeah, if somebody told me right
Yeah.
now that you're gonna have to go through all of this again, I'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah, right. But that's what I mean. And that's part of why that we are not necessarily allowed to see things that happen to us like that. We're not allowed to know um, prior to a huge transitional and transformative event in our life many times, but those are required often to get us to where we desire to be. So if you're ignoring going down a path, I like to refer to the Bruce Almighty when he keeps, driving down the same road with all the signs. If you're ignoring shifting your path, the universe is going to throw some huge transitional experience your way to get you to come out on the other side the way that you're desiring. So, like if you're desiring more happiness, if you're desiring a better relationship, if you're desiring your life to be different somehow within your relationship, your job, your current environment, and you don't do anything to shift that, most likely you're going to end up in this transitional event that could or could not relate to your health to get you to reframe your mindset and rework things so that you get to the place that you're desiring to be anyways. But if you were to know that prior to going there and having that event take place, you'd backtrack and backpedal real quick, because you'd be like, oh, that sounds like a lot. I don't know if I have it in me to do that. And that sounds very painful, very emotional. I just really don't want to. I think I'd change my mind right now. It reminds me of when I went in to have Jake. It was so funny. I was waiting to go have him. I was like ready, and I was just, when is this happening? And you have contractions. I went into the doctor and he goes, yeah, you're not going home. And I was like, are you sure though? He was like, how far do you live? And I tell him, and he's like, yeah, you're not going anywhere. And I'm like, yeah, but I'll come back. I mean, like, are you really, like, this is just, we have to do this now. There's just, it really hit me. There's no other way out of this now. I mean, it is just, there's no other way. This is the only way through this door at this point in time. And I was like, wow, did I think this through? Like, this is going to really be painful. So I feel like people do that. I feel like, you desire it, you really want it, you think you'll do all these things, and then you get to the door and you're like, yeah, but really, but that time the universe is going, yep, no, you're not going home. You are going to go through this now, because this is what you've created and desired. And so you have to go through the pain, you have to go through that emotional experience to get you to that other place. And that's the good place. So you have to go through that experience to get to the other side. It's just that you would have, you wouldn't have done it if you knew that. But then when you're there, you're like, this is the most amazing thing ever. So yeah, it's incredible. But a lot of people are right in the midst of that right now. And with a lot of people, it is affecting not just relationships, but their health. And they're just in this pivotal point where they're having to go through something to get to where it is that they really desire. And that takes transition. It takes something major to affect your mindset and reframe things and make different choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, definitely comment below, and or your first obsession and memory that you had when you were little. That's going to be really important, right?
Yes, definitely. And like the video and subscribe if you haven't already.
Yeah. All right. So until next time, have the most amazing day. Aloha.
Bye.
Bye.